Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, this is Joe, and guess what? Right behind me here is the Cybercab that is being tested. And they are going through this entire process of testing around Giga Texas. And I'll put up this image here, or this video, just shows you a little bit closer in of some of the testing that they are doing here at the factory. So it's pretty cool to be able to see what they are doing and putting it through the paces. You'll notice in the video there is a black Model 3 that is kind of the chase car, and they've been doing this track several times this morning, going around the factory, coming up along the west side, sometimes stopping right behind me here and simulating like they're picking up or dropping off passengers, and then they continue on to the north side and they kind of do a loop behind me here and then continue around to the east side. So it's really great to see that they are doing this testing here, and just to kind of get an idea of what the Cybercab looks like in the daylight. And one of the interesting things that I did notice is that it has just regular Texas plates on it. I think they say manufacturer, but it's a little different than what we saw over at the Wii Robot and when it was on display here initially. So anyway, just wanted to be able to show you that there is testing going on here of the Cybercab. In fact, it's going on live right behind me as I'm talking to you. So pretty neat. Now, a couple other things that I want to show you in the video. They just put out a demo video of the Cybertruck, showing you the effectiveness of the four-wheel steering versus the two-wheel steering. So they have these two Cybertrucks driving around in circles. The one on the outer circle is, of course, without the four-wheel steering, and the one on the inner circle is with the four-wheel steering. So this gives you a really great idea of just the maneuverability of the Cybertruck and that four-wheel steering. Now, one other thing that I want to mention is Tesla has changed the referral program again, and this is going to allow people who use referrals to get up to $2,000 off on a purchase of a Tesla vehicle, and that's the full line including a Cybertruck. This also means that you can get 3 months of full self-driving and 3 months of supercharging with unlimited miles. And if you put the purchase in before the 31st of December 2024, and then be able to purchase that vehicle, I think that's a really great opportunity. There is also the chance to stack some of these incentives. That would be the referral program, the military appreciation rebate, and the $7,500 EV rebate if you qualify, and many more. And John P. here on X shows this way of that you can do that to make sure you can stack those incentives. And I've got the image up here showing you how he did it, and you can follow along and maybe save you some money. And of course, the last thing that I want to talk about today is that it is Thanksgiving weekend, or week, and it'll be a long weekend coming up here. Thanksgiving is celebrated on Thursday here in the United States, so I'm not too sure if I'll be flying on Friday, but we'll see how that goes. But in any case, it is a Thanksgiving weekend, and I hope that you enjoy these views here today around Giga Texas and all the activity, and of course, the fact that we saw the Cybercab in action. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and happy Thanksgiving.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. from the north end of Giga Texas. A lot of exciting things happened today. If you watched the intro, you know that I got a chance to see the Cybercab in operation and testing all along the north and west sides of the factory. In fact, that tent on the bottom left in the parking lot is where they were doing some of the testing. In addition to that, this red hashed area is where they were simulating passenger pickup and drop off. And they would just continue to fly around this road all the way around the entire factory. And they did that for well over an hour this morning. And while we are here, I'll bring the drone down lower. We'll fly along the west side, show you a few other things that are going on today on this Thanksgiving week. And you'll be able to note that there's not a lot of production going on per se. Some construction and just some general cleanup on a relatively slow day. But we're going to start off here at this construction site. A lot of changes now happening in rapid fashion. The stairs on the left, we also have that temporary scaffolding over those stairs and the doors. We see a section of rebar and forms being added to continue to put the concrete in on this apron. Some more forms and excavation for probably some pipes. And hopefully we'll see this area completed. So it's great to see that work underway and after all of these months of waiting. As we continue to fly to the south, I wanted to get over to where the Model Ys exit the factory for their production and before they get sent over to the outbound lot. You'll see a few of them here on the ground, maybe a couple coming out of the black ramp, and there's one right there. And so there is some production of the Model Ys, which is great to see. But I wanted to stop here and show you the work with the load leveler system. As I zoom in, a great shot here. Also a view inside these three new receiving doors and that plastic wall that's kind of separating the construction from where the end of the production is happening, and of course that ramp where those Model Ys come out for right now. And of course they get marshaled here, drive over to the outbound lot, and then they bring the workers back. And of course that repeats often throughout the day. So I'm going to bring the drone up, a nice view of the flags, a little bit of the wind this morning, and we'll cross over the highway and we'll resume on the other side. The north end of the end-of-line facility, we see some of the Model Ys that have been driven over here. Also some newly painted markings. Some of them are dashed, some of them are solid lines. And of course, when the door opens, they go inside for their final processing. The outbound lot is reasonably busy on the south end, although there is not a lot going on here on this north lot. I would say that production is at a lower level right now, possibly because of the holidays, also because we're getting into the end of the year and they're trying to get rid of a lot of the inventory, thus those referral programs. So anyway, I'll just continue to monitor and see how the production proceeds for the rest of the year. But this is what it looks like here today. Also a nice view across the end-of-line facility over to the main factory with the sun coming up and the clouds. Some nice colors in the sky. But anyway, this is a good view of the vehicles and some of the trucks that are waiting to pick the cars up. And while I'm here, I'm going to pull away further to the west so we can take a look at this material staging yard. And a lot of these materials that have just been stored here, they do get frequently moved over for the factory for installation. Now, I've heard that a lot of this electrical equipment, the spools of cable, the transformers, are all going to be part of that south extension of the electrical switchyard, which we will see and talk about a little later in the video, but exciting news that I will share here shortly. But the rest of this is just equipment, some construction materials that you can see here. And on the right-hand side of the screen, as I pivot towards this staging lot, all of this equipment in the wooden containers, the silver, blue, and white wrapping is production equipment that will be installed into the factory along with the stamping presses that we see on the left, that white with that tan items as well. And all of this is going to be supporting production of the Cybercab and other items later in the 2025 timeframe at the second half. As I zoom in, here's just a quick view of some of this material close up. Not really able to read the labels, at least not from this altitude. But as we continue to fly to the south, a great view closer in of all of this equipment and just the enormity of it that is being stored here. And we will be seeing this being moved into the factory later this year or into early 2025. And as I mentioned, this will be installed over the first half of the year. And then they'll be able to start using this for test production probably sometime in the middle to late summer of 2025. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude, take advantage of some of the early morning light, the clouds, and the colors over the main factory. And we'll proceed over to the south along the west warehouse on wheels with all of those trailers on the bottom of the screen. A few other things that I want to show you. There's that large trench right in the middle of the screen that proceeds from the Boring Company tunnel all the way to the south end of the west warehouse on wheels. And in addition to that, as we look across the highway to the factory, as I mentioned in my previous video, all of the trees that used to be lined up next to the highway has been removed, and you can see that kind of dirt patch on the right-hand side of the screen. As I bring the drone down lower over this trench for the what looks to be electrical conduit being installed into the trench and leading up to the Boring Company tunnel. And most likely this will be configured for lighting, as one of the issues that they have in this area is it tends to be very dark during the nighttime, and this will help quite a bit by having the lighting. As I reposition the drone to take a look at the Boring Company tunnel, this is a nice view across to the main factory. And if you follow the tunnel underneath the road, that's where it goes to the inside. As I zoom in, this is a nice view of this kind of a funnel entranceway or exit way. The concrete that's been poured on the road surface panels inside, plus some of those inspection panels on the road surface panels themselves that allow the workers to get into the electrical conduit and pipes that are on the bottom part of the tunnel. As I continue to maneuver, we can see that the concrete's been poured on several of the footings around the tunnel. Also work with a steel structure on that area in the middle of the screen with the workers and some of the forms. All of this is going to be part of a covering and a frontal facing structure for the tunnel that will allow it to be operational here very soon. And then they will extend the roadway, the paved road, into the tunnel and all the way to the south along where we've seen some of that electrical conduit being installed. But this is a great view overall of what that tunnel looked like, and we can just imagine that being operational here very soon. As we get over to this section, still waiting for this to be paved and extend to the south, this supercharger area. In addition to that, we do see there's a lot of vehicles, but also that V4 supercharger pedestals have been installed in about 1/4 of the supercharger, and that will extend throughout the rest of the supercharger as they upgrade the system. So let's get ready to cross over the highway, and we'll resume on the other side once again. Materials are being loaded up on top of the temporary platform for the 3rd floor. In addition to that, some more excavation work, conduit work, and as I zoom in, a nice view of this grease trap on the ground that is being constructed, and it looks like scaffolding, stairways as well being installed here in this drive path area. And of course, this is that emergency access in case the tunnel is not functional for whatever reason. And the tunnel is just on the inside of that area, kind of the middle point of the factory. As I turn back to the south, it's a nice view of some of the activity with the glass on the left, the glass in the crates on the trailers, and of course that yellow lifting device. As I mentioned, all of the trees in this section where there is dirt have been removed in the last few days, and this may be to allow for another drive path, or what I've been hearing is another frontage road off-ramp from the highway. So we'll see how that materializes. It's a nice look across the cyber pond at that south end with the 3 emergency exit tunnels, the concrete walkway in the middle of that 3-stepped or tiered location, and then the roadway that is continuing to be prepared along the glass that will eventually be paved and allow access across this south end. As I mentioned before, the purple pipes is for irrigation, and that's to help encourage the seed mixture that they put here for erosion control. I'll bring the drone down here on the southeast side, and I'll give you some views of what is going on here with the section waiting for the glass. The black trim has been installed on the perimeter grade beam. Also, they've been working on the second floor, and this is all in preparations to install more of the glass. In addition to that, where the chiller units are inside, we can see the temporary pumps and pipes. And on the second floor, some of the additional work with interior walls and the exterior walls in that center top part of the screen, what that looks like on the inside of the factory. And the workers continue to finish up that section and then prepare for the glass. As I pan over to the chiller unit, the big thing I'm looking at is where those manifolds are in the center of the screen. Not connected yet, but there is some shoring and some other items that have been put in that location as well. And so overall, they continue to work on this cooling system. Some of the fans are operational, and we'll see how they eventually connect all this into the factory itself. A nice view across the road and to that line pond, also the dirt area where they've finished the gas pipe rework and have been filling in the trenches and making that grade smooth again. As I zoom in, nice look at that mezzanine section on that ground floor where we were just looking inside. Of course, the chiller plant with a really great lighting here from the early sun and all that equipment that is on the ground. There is some new temporary stairs on the left-hand side of the screen, kind of reaching up into that 6th bay on the south end. Also, a nice look at the wall panels that have now been installed, completing the concrete wall panels, and the window line is very noticeable now. It is interesting to see where the window line ends on the ground floor as opposed to how it extends much further on the upper floors next to the roof section. Nice look at the area where the natural gas pipeline was installed and the grade work to get that all smooth again. And as I continue to pan to the north, this other kind of clearing with the large water tank and then those green electrical boxes in the middle. This is probably just for excess storage and or parking, at least temporarily, until the rest of the construction is completed. The privacy fencing is still in place on the ground floor on this east side. And as I mentioned, with the Cybercab testing that is going on around the factory, they've also been entering and exiting through this area where that privacy fence is located. And of course, doing more of the testing and driving along these roads here, including Robotic Avenue at the bottom of the screen, Electric Avenue next to the north end of the parking garage, and of course the road around the main factory. This large material staging yard still has some of the piping for the cooling system, but all of the concrete panels are now gone because they have been installed. Not much activity in this old testing and calibration lot, certainly not with any of the new Cybertrucks, and pretty much just what this looks like today. I would not surprise me if this gets reconfigured in the very near future. On the median underneath the power lines, we see some additional excavation work to extend that sidewalk. Of course, this has been under work for the last month or two, and that is continuing to make progress. As I keep the zoom in and we fly to the north, a nice view of those receiving doors on the left with that concrete apron, some of the equipment that is being temporarily stored there. A lot of castings along the side of the building, and of course in the bottom middle of the screen along the berm, some of them in rack mount, some of them on the ground. And the view here of the baghouse plant also shows activity on the top where a new funnel or chimney has been installed on top of that collector, and that's on top of those two filtration systems on that large steel structure. As I zoom in, this is a nicer, closer view of some of the pipes, the filtration units on the left-hand side of the screen as well. From the ground all the way up to the top, this is really starting to take shape and getting closer to its final configuration. The structure on the right coming into view with the lighting, this is a great look in. Much of this is for the furnace and managing of the furnace. We do see that silver and red item on that raised concrete platform. This looks like it's a way of maneuvering heavy items, possibly gigapress dies in and out of the factory here. That blast wall, most likely for furnace work, and we're getting some deliveries of some of the cryogenic commodities on that north end today. Also, if you look across the road to the north parking lot, a lot of castings, and I'll give you some closer views of that here momentarily. While we're on the roof section, I'll bring the drone back down along the parapet wall. All of the cables that you see being put together, and near where this new access point is for the roof, all of this cabling and the work that is going on coming in from the left-hand side of the screen now, the top, is to provide the electrical power to the Cortex supercomputer cluster on the south end of the factory. And of course, while we're here, I'll give you a view of the top part of the baghouse filtration plant with that new ventilation duct, the collector, and the filter units at the bottom. And the workers give you a really good sense of scale. Of course, the American flag is there, not just for patriotism, but also to show that this structure is now at its highest point and nearly completed. Of course, the good look here along the parapet wall and the cabling. As I mentioned, all of this is for the Cortex supercomputer cluster, and it continues to see a lot of work being prepared for the final connections. As we pass over the temporary loading ramp with that spool of cabling, I'll bring the drone back down to a lower altitude and show you what the structure here looks like from lower down, plus the excavation work at the bottom center of the screen for more electrical conduit, the spools of cable on the ground, more of the rack mounts of the castings, and some additional work going on. The number of castings is definitely very noticeable today, and this entire north lot is just absolutely filled with them. I thought I'd try to do something a little bit fun, bring the drone down kind of low and fly right over the castings so you get a good view from this altitude what they all look like. These all appear to be the untrimmed portions of the front castings or actually some of them are rear castings for the Cybertruck. And as I continue to maneuver around, you can just get a good sense of how many of them are here. And as I pull back away to the north, I'll kind of reveal more of this lot and back towards the casting machine structure. So let's get ready to take a look at the electrical switchyard and some of the changes, plus information that I have recently learned today. Great overall view of this new graded section. Just to the south, the electrical switchyard, you can see the conduit extending to the south and also work on that concrete vault. And we'll see that closer up here momentarily. In addition to that, more work over on the east side of the main clearing, and you can see that work underway today. Now, what I have learned is that not only does this look very similar as far as the shape and configuration of the Megapack site on the left, but this is indeed a second battery electric storage system, BESS, also the Megapack site. So we're going to see most likely another Megapack here of similar size and capacity to the one that is already in place. And this is very similar to the XAI Colossus installation. This is going to be Megapacks to support the Cortex. That only gives them good backup, but it also helps to filter and manage the frequency changes that are inherent with these NVIDIA H100 supercomputer clusters, and that will help with the reliability and operation of the Cortex computer cluster. We see this space rescue team. That's where they're going into that vault to do some work in a closed and small space, so they are there while that work is going on. In addition to that, we see forms for more footings just to the south of the new transformer. The blast wall has been in place on the left-hand side of the screen. More of the footings for the A-frame structure and steel items on the bottom left, and then the cable trays on the ground have been opened up and they are starting to install cable, as you can tell. Now, if we look across to the blast wall, the other transformer and the items on the left, we'll see something very similar. And the footings that are being put in on the south part of the transformer, and of course the A-frames and the other steel items will go into those other footings just to the north. In addition to that, we'll see another A-frame and more steel structure on these footings in the center of the screen next to the control room. So a lot of activity here, and it'll be great to see to have 2 Megapack sites on Giga Texas, in addition to all of the extensively reworked and enhanced electrical system for the energy needs of the Cortex. At the bottom of the screen, we see some of the steel items have been delivered for the A-frames. Those are being stored until assembled. And just a nice overall view here as I fly over the power lines of what this site is looking like today. And as we continue over towards the die shop and the battery cathode plant, just some additional earthwork on the ground as we get near that batch plant, and then some additional work here just to the south of this pond, some of those blue pipes, and a lot of dirt being stored here temporarily. So let's maneuver and go down the alleyway between the die shop and the cathode building and take a look at the chiller plant today. I'll zoom in here and give you a nice close-in view of some of the tanks, the vaporizers, the stainless steel tanks with the pipes on top, all of the heat exchangers, pumps, and valves on top of the chiller unit, the 4 Evapco fan units that are operational, all of the plumbing on the bottom of the structure on that ground floor, and of course this large gray pump itself. The openings on top of the building where I think that we'll see some more fan units eventually, and this excavation work and preparation of the grade for potential expansion of that chiller plant. So a lot of activity in this particular area. I also wanted to bring the drone down here lower, take a look at the equipment. This is part of that Celia SAS equipment that we saw being delivered, and we talked about it's part of the battery cathode manufacturing process. And with some of this equipment and the techniques that this will allow, they can further reduce almost to zero the amount of cobalt in the 4680s. So this work and the assembly continues. In addition to that, we see some more concrete panels next to the lift station, and we'll have to watch and see where that is installed later on. As I come up to the northeast section, just a quick look at the materials, some of the concrete that is beginning to be broken up and recycled, and of course this red and white bridge crane next to this silver kind of I don't know what that is, a filter unit maybe, or an inlet, and we're still waiting to see when that is going to be installed. As I fly further to the south along the east side of the battery cathode plant, a nice view of the battery recycling lab on the left, the Wade pit, some of the Model Ys all parked along this side of the building, and I think those are just for employee use. And of course the crash test facility We do see some battery packs on the ground here on the bottom of the screen next to some of the crash-tested vehicles. And just a pretty good look at the activity levels here at the crash test facility today. So that will bring us to an end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed what we were able to see. Of course, the views of the Cybercab in action and the information about the new battery electric storage system or Megapack site here at Giga Texas. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. Take care.